Here we are, live again.
Live again. I don't get bored of hearing myself. No. I don't get bored of hearing you. I love you. I'm so glad we're doing this.
It's so much fun.
I hope our viewers are enjoying it. Listeners, viewers, oh my God, we have both. No pressure.
How can they not be enjoying it? And because you brought that up, I posted about it, but I was completely shocked yesterday. I was Googling Voices of the Goddess podcast, just
As one does.
I was actually like looking for stuff. But anyway, I click on one of these links and bam, up on the screen pops that we are ranked in the top 10% globally. Like, wow.
Like I'm beside myself, like top 10% globally. Like how many podcasts are we talking about? Like 10?
There are almost 3 million. There are
Oh
almost
my
3 million podcasts in the world, and we are in the top 10% of that.
Woot woot. That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal.
Crazy.
I guess I better stop dropping F-bombs on the show. We'll see.
That's what makes people listen. Come on.
Maybe. Speaking of posting, the other day I saw you. Was it your niece's wedding?
My niece got married.
Girl, but you wore this dress that I was like, and I'm not like a big clothes horse, but man, that outfit was so beautiful. And plus you were in Wisconsin. I saw you got some snow.
Yes. Everything was fantastic. But interesting story. And I know some of this started from, so in case, because not all of the listeners know me and know any of my history, but my mom passed away about 11 years ago of Lewy body dementia. And so even before the wedding, my sister-in-law had texted me, hey, do you have any like bigger printed photos of your moms that we can have at at the wedding? And just because my mom was an extremely important woman in my niece's life. And so anyway, so that already started this whole thing, like, my mom's not going to be at the wedding, even though, yes, she was definitely there at the wedding, but, like not in physical 3D human form.
Yeah.
But so then, okay, getting to Wisconsin from Fort Lauderdale is not the easiest thing. Every once in a while, there'll be a direct flight, but not usually. So we were booked to go through Atlanta, and then this hurricane forms out there, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, your flight might be canceled Thursday morning. So I'm like, okay, I will try and fly in Wednesday afternoon instead of Thursday morning. And so my boyfriend rebooked the flights and blah, 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 and didn't really think anything of it. But then all of a sudden, like the day of, I find myself like so emotional and I can't even figure it out. And my first client of the day, his daughter actually went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And so he knows about getting to Wisconsin from Florida. And he goes, so are you flying direct? I said, no, I couldn't find any direct flights. He's like, well, what, are you flying through Atlanta? I'm like, no, I'm not flying. Like, I could not like tell him where I was flying, that I was flying through New York. And all of a sudden it hit me. So I don't know however many years ago this was, but I literally found out that my mom had dementia while I was standing in New York in the airport talking to my dad saying, Dad, I can't find mom, because she was flying in from Wisconsin. I was flying in from Florida. We were meeting in New York City for a girls' weekend. Wow. That was literally the only time I've ever gone to New York in my life. But I get there. My mom was supposed to meet me at my gate. She's not there. I'm there, like, panicking. I didn't have a good cell phone at the time, so I, like, literally used the payphone to call my dad, and I'm like, I can't find mom. Was her flight late? Was her flight delayed? Like, what's going on? And he tells me, well, I didn't want to say anything to you beforehand. I wanted to see if you noticed anything, but your mom's best friend and I think that your mom has dementia. And I'm thinking in my head, like, wait, what? You like let her go on a plane by herself, like thinking that she might have dementia?
That's
anyway, we found each other. We had a fantastic weekend, but spending that weekend with her, it was extremely obvious to me that something was going on. And so anyway, like I had this memory tied to LaGuardia Airport. And like, so I'm like, I figured that out. Like, as I'm having this conversation with my patient, and then I have him turned over because I'm working on his back, and like he's turned over, and I'm like sitting there like crying, and then okay, I'm gonna flip him over, so I got to pull it back together. And my next client comes in, I put her on her stomach so I can cry some more. I'm like, I'm crying, and then I go home and I'm finishing packing before I leave for the airport, and I'm just crying, and I can't even talk about it with anybody, and I'm just going, I thought I had this grief thing nailed. Like, my mom died 11 years ago. Like, I thought I had it like in check. And it was just shocking to me, like how much that little thing just like threw me over the edge about it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's so powerful. Grief, you know, one of the best like visual explanations I've seen for grief that just totally like I totally get it, just aligns with me, is it's a drawing of a box. I may have said this to you before, but it's a drawing of a box, and there's a red button in the box, and that's that overwhelming grief feeling, right? Like what kept you from even saying the words, right? And what kept you crying throughout your day, which is not you, like that's not normally you, you know, like you said, you thought you had this thing resolved. But so in this box, there's a red button, and then there's a big giant ball in there. So when we lose someone at the beginning, there's this big giant ball. And so any little movement of that ball triggers that button, right? Like constantly all the time. And so at the very beginning, we're all very distraught, and we feel distraught a lot for a long time, right? But then as time goes, that ball gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So it's able to bounce around this box without hitting that panic button, right? So like you're aware, you know, just like you knew, like, you know, you were going to go to this wedding. You knew your mom wasn't going to be there per se, right? But, you know, it was okay. But then all of a sudden, that little ball bouncing around, which now was a manageable size, boom, hits that red button again, you know, and it's like it's day one all over again. I know that I've experienced that myself. How do you feel now?
Obviously, like I made it through. I feel better. I did talk about it right now without breaking down. So, and it has been suggested that it might be healing for me to take another trip to New York City and like experience New York again. Cause that was my first and only experience of New York City, was being with my mom and finding out that she has dementia. So
traveling in uncertainty on top of everything else, right?
Yeah,
I get that. Well, you'll have to make some additional memories in New York. And I think you can do that in a way that totally honors your mom too, right? Like not like you're not trying to replace those memories, right? At all. And by any means, right? You treasure them. But you know, add some positive charges to that experience.
Yes, for sure.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I'm sorry that you went through that, but I appreciate you sharing, because I know we're not the only ones. You know, I know we're not the only ones.
Absolutely. That's a lot of the reason this podcast exists, so that all of us women can share our stories, our experiences, so everyone knows they're not alone. They're not the only one.
Well, and grief doesn't, you know, just mean the death of a loved one, you know, and watch my badass segue into our guest. So grief can be the loss of use of a certain body part. It can be the loss of a marriage. So our guest today is, drumroll, Sara Singer. Welcome.
Thank you. That was a really good segue.
Thank you. It just encouraged me.
She's a pro.
I love talking psychology talk. I think it's just the neatest thing in the world. And I think everyone goes through grief in a lot of different ways. And I'm sure you see that a lot in your business. So why don't you take a couple minutes, introduce yourself to our audience, let them know what you do and what you want them to know about you.
Sure. So, well, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. And Juliet, I was going to tell you, I'm actually in New Jersey right now, like right outside of New York. So if you want to come, I'm here a lot. We can definitely do some New York touristy things together. But when I'm not in New Jersey, and even when I am, I'm a family law attorney. My practice is in Fort Lauderdale, and I exclusively practice family law. So I deal with divorces, I deal with paternity cases, which involves child support. I talk about alimony a lot. I write prenups, postnups, enforcement actions. And there is a lot of grief in my practice. And one of the things that I like about my practice is I like when I can see the growth of a client from when they first come into my office, and they are truly going through that red button grief where it's just all consuming. And then by the end of my representation of them, generally they have a much better outlook, and they can see that there is, almost like a light at the end of the tunnel for them. But, with divorce, you really are grieving a marriage that, you never thought would end. So I do deal with a lot of sad people. It definitely gives me a different perspective on a lot of things. It makes me kind of happy and grateful for the things that are going on in my personal life and outside of work. So it does give me a good perspective of things.
I love how you talk about like your clients' growth and stuff through the process, and they start in this difficult space, and through the process, find that everything can be okay, which kind of leads into our first question is, and you obviously have a lot of passion about your work. We see that in your TikTok. But what is one success story that really has moved you forward and brought a lot of passion to your work?
So I've been practicing now for almost 10 years. I think my 10 years, maybe I'm like 9.5 years, which is crazy to me.
How is that possible? You're so young. How could
right? I know. It's just the really good Botox, actually. So I've been practicing for a while now. And when I first started practicing, I was working for people. And it was just sort of, I felt like it was just routine. I was in a hamster wheel. I just kept doing the same thing every day for somebody else. And I didn't really have a lot of autonomy and who I selected as a client and what I did to grow my business. And I was just very much, an associate at a firm, which was great in a lot of ways. I learned how to be a lawyer, a family law lawyer. I learned how to run a business. It was really beneficial. But my true success story, when I felt that I was successful, was actually when I opened my own firm. And it was really one of those moments. It was an oh shit moment, because I was, am I going to do this? Am I really going to do this? I'm going to not have a steady paycheck. I'm going to just go out on my own, and who's going to come to me? When I think about myself in life, when I'm picturing my life or myself in life, I think I'm 16. I literally, that's the vision I get of myself. And so I had big time imposter syndrome. I'm I don't think I can handle this. After the first 6 months, I was I didn't go to Publix. I was literally going to driving to my mom's house to have her cook me food. I would go to my other friends. I was I don't have any money. And then when my accountant finally met with me after 6 months, and he was you need to spend some money. You made money. And I was what? I made money? Even though I knew I was busy and I was getting busier, it was really, I guess, a year after I started my own practice where I was okay, I made it. I'm not afraid of, am I going to have a paycheck coming in? And I got to make my own decisions, make my decisions about what clients I'm going to take, what clients I'm not going to take, which I think was an even bigger decision. How I was going to market myself, who I was going to market myself to, even the team that I was going to surround myself with, my marketing team, my IT people, all of the decisions that I never got to make at a firm, I was making on my own. And I literally, no joke, bought toilet paper for my office once. And I was damn, I got to pick what toilet paper I wanted for my office. And it was such a small thing, but it really made me feel okay, I've made it. I've got this firm. And obviously I have a ton of other goals for myself, but it was when I felt successful.
That's beautiful. And it like Juliet and I both own our own businesses as well. And you describe it so perfectly to a T because it's like exciting and terrifying at the same time. I agree with you. In my head, I am just a child. Um, I'm, I'm always like, well, I don't know, but I think we could do it like this. And then other people are like, no, you actually do know your shit. And I'm like, what? I do.
Uh-huh. It's so true. It really is that. Like, it's an imposter syndrome thing. It really is.
It totally is. It totally. And you know what? It keeps me learning. So like, I don't mind it. It's good. But also, yes, I get to pick what type of toilet paper comes into the space.
Right? I know.
I love that. What a great story. And we're constantly evolving, right? Like we get to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I know you have, speaking of moms, I know you have an awesome relationship with your mom. And I think it's really cool that you guys are both lawyers and you can support each other. Does she still cook for you or are you eating on your own now? You feel better?
Eating on my own. I mean, she definitely would like for me to come eat with her more, but like I'm eating on my own for sure. We're good. But actually, I was having a mom who she practices the same type of law that I do. She's a family law attorney. But this was a moment she gave me. I was thinking when I was like preparing for this podcast, I think like one of the questions you asked me was something like best piece of advice that
That's where I was going. Who gave you the best piece of advice? Yeah.
Obviously it was my mom. But the advice she gave me was advice that really only a mom could give you. So it was when I was at the firm, I wanted a raise. And I had never asked for a raise before. I don't know why, but I mean, I was in my like mid-20s and I had never asked for a raise. And my boss was a man. And my mom and I must have run through like 100 different scenarios of like how to ask for a raise. I read the book Lean In. I like prepared, right?
Like a good lawyer does.
Right. And I kept saying, you know, I don't want to be greedy. I don't want to seem like I'm not grateful, like every possible thing that could go through your mind when you're about to ask for a raise. And my mom must have been so sick of this conversation. She goes, Sarah, imagine you had a penis. How would you ask for a raise if you had a penis? And I was like, holy shit. It was a light bulb moment. I was like, you know what? It's true because, you see men in business and they just literally say what they need to say. And they don't think about, I'm going to sound rude. I'm going to sound bitchy. I'm going to be, sound like, selfish or whatever. They just say it. And they also don't have this, I want a raise. And let me tell you why I want a raise. Like they just say it. I want a raise. And I was like, that is like, that's so true. So I just went in and said, I want a raise. And I got the raise. And it was the best piece of advice because, but it's something only a mom could say. Imagine you had a penis. How would you ask for a raise? Like if somebody else said that to you, you'd be like, what? But she was right. And it really did. It kind of got me out of my own head. And I very much use that every day in business. And it also helps with that imposter syndrome a little because it's like you said, Graciela, like I do know what I'm talking about. And sometimes I just need to remind myself of that. But it's always in the back of my head. Like, imagine I had a penis. How would I say it?
That is phenomenal.
I think that could be a book.
That's what I was thinking.
Had a penis.
I mean, that title alone, right?
Which leads into our next question, Sarah. Because I don't know about you, but Graciela and I are like bookaholics. And so we are always asking everybody, what is one book that you wish every goddess would read and why?
Okay, so there's a book called The Gratitude Diaries. Her name is Janice Kaplan, maybe something like that. And as a woman, as a female business owner, I forget sometimes to be grateful for the small things. And it makes such a big difference when you just take a minute to remember what you are grateful for. And so this book talks about all of these different experiences of different people. And, you know, everybody goes through hard times, but how much happier of a person you are when you can be grateful for the small things. And like, okay, here's an example of something that I like, I often use. Like, I hate exercising. I hate it, but I have to do it. It's the only thing that's stress relief for me, other than punching someone in the face, which is not okay. So I exercise, I run, and it's just, I don't like it. I don't think I'm good at it. I'm like one of those people who's slogging down the road, like not looking cute at all. And I literally will remind myself to be grateful for the things around me. Like, wow, I'm grateful that I can be breathing this air. And as stupid as it sounds, it makes such a big difference to just kind of take a minute to take yourself outside of the misery that you're currently feeling. And as a business owner, it's even more helpful for me. I mean, sometimes you wake up and you look at your schedule and you have 12 meetings and one of your staff members called out, and you have to go home and cook dinner, and you have a networking event later, and you have to go live on TikTok. You're like overwhelmed with your surroundings.
Yeah.
And taking a minute to be grateful for small things makes a huge difference. And I reread that book when I start to get like bogged down in my like misery a little bit. And it's not like real misery, but it's my own personal hell. And it makes a huge difference. And it's like different people. The book is like different people going through different times in their lives, and different things, and kind of like what, you know, when somebody comes up to you in the middle of a stressful situation and says, tell me something you're grateful for, it really does take you out of where you are for a minute. And I could not recommend the book enough. I mean, it's not like a story book, you know, or like softcore porn or anything, but like it really does makes you feel good.
That sounds awesome. You know, I have a friend of mine that always says, this is a bad neighborhood. You know, she points to her head, to her brain. She's like, this is a bad neighborhood. If you hang out in there, you can talk yourself in and out of so much misery all the time, like constantly, right? So getting out of your head and doing something like that is so powerful. I was laughing when you were talking about jogging, because I am also anti-jogging, but I have walked several marathons, including a 50-mile walk for MS and things like that. But I always walked because I really wanted to talk while I was walking, and I can't run and talk at the same time. Definitely not.
Yeah.
I've always been like so impressed with people that run for pleasure. I'm like, that's amazing. You see them gliding like gazelles. They're just like, they're like, it's so amazing. Like, I wish I was that person. I'm so not. Like, I want to be, but
Same. I wish so badly I was a gazelle, but it's just not in my heart.
I know. Even like a giraffe. Like, I'll take a giraffe. Like, it doesn't even have to be a gazelle. But what's ironic talking to you is that I got into that the year that I got divorced. I was married when I was 21, divorced when I was 29. And I'm telling you, those miles were my therapy. Like, and we always said that by the time you get to mile 18, you're like divulging way too much personal information. But by that time, especially walking, like you've been at it for a while. I will say it did save my knees, though. My knees don't hurt as bad as I think they could had I actually ran. But we did like a nice swift walk. But I'm telling you, I walked up and down that Fort Lauderdale beach a million miles at a time. And it gets you out of your head and it opens up your brain a little bit. And then you find things to be grateful for.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah. It's a great book. So I would definitely, that's one book I wish that all goddesses would read.
Totally. Julietta, we need to make like an actual bookshelf and put all of these books on the bookshelf. Like when we get our place, when we're non-virtual, we'll have a retreat center, something like that. I'm thinking bookshelf with books recommended by all of our people.
I love it.
I know.
That's so good.
I'm a visionary, Sarah. I'm a visionary.
You are. I like
it. So you're clearly not risk averse. I know that everything feels kind of terrifying. And we were just talking a couple shows ago about how the greatest success always comes right after the biggest fears, right? The biggest leap, the biggest thing. So, a lot of our audience will stop, right before the big win. Can you share an experience that, even though it was like a thing, right? Like, you'll never regret?
So I think for my like big thing was just going to law school, because everybody around me told me how awful it was going to be.
Wow.
And they were not wrong. I hated law school. So when I guess maybe not even, this is going to really show my cards, but whatever. I mean, it's been like 11 years now. Going to law school was like, okay, everyone told me it was going to suck, but I was like, whatever, I know better than them. And then my first year of law school, like my first semester of law school, I did horrendous. Like I did so piss poorly that I was on academic probation, and never in my life had I ever gotten a grade below a B plus. Like I was like a nerd through my entire life. Like I read for fun as like a kid. I was just like, I loved school. I loved learning. And I was like, I'm going to be fine in law school. And I was not fine. I did horrible. And I kind of had always known like I wanted to be a lawyer. But then when I did so piss poorly in law school, my first semester, I was like, do I continue on? Like, maybe this isn't for me. Like, maybe I need to come up with a new life goal. So
you start questioning your very existence, right?
Literally everything about it. I was like, this isn't good. Like, if I can't get through law school, like, how am I going to be a lawyer? How am I going to take the bar? Like, you really start questioning like every single thing. So, and part of like being on academic probation is like, you had to take like an extra course the following year. You had to meet with like an advisor. Like, it was a big deal. And I really considered not continuing. Like, I really thought about dropping out of law school. And because it was really going to be hard, the next semester, having to take my regular classes and my academic oversight classes and meeting with like an academic advisor. I was like, is it really worth it? And then it was. I mean, I did it. I just like kind of took the jump and I did it because I really did want to be a lawyer. And I think a lot of people go to law school because they don't know what they want to do. But I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. And I was like, I'm not going to let this, the fact that I did really shitty my first semester get in the way of that. And I'm so happy I did. I mean, I really love being a lawyer now. And I can't imagine, people ask you that question, what would you do if you didn't do your current job? Like, this is what I want to do. Like, I wouldn't be doing anything else. Maybe I would do it for free, but like I would be a lawyer. I love it. So that was kind of my like moment of, okay, I have to take this jump and continue on and do something that I know is going to be really hard and unpleasant, but I'm so happy that I did it, that I took that jump. And I think like maybe 10 people in my entire life knew that I was on academic probation, and now the entire world does. So perfect.
Well, you are a TikTok lawyer. I mean, you are, our audience doesn't know this about you yet, but you are pretty darn famous on TikTok.
I'm TikTok famous.
Hey, that says a lot. Ask Juliet. I talk about TikTok every other show.
Yeah.
Like, we can't get through an episode without talking about TikTok. So
I'm here for it. I love talking about TikTok. I'll talk about it all day.
But we have more important things to talk about than TikTok, although possibly the answer to this question lies in TikTok. Who knows? Or maybe it's a new TikTok channel. Ooh. If you call it that, I don't know, which I am not a TikToker at all, so I don't know. But the thing that we want to know from all of our guests, because we're like creating a bank of sweetest, juiciest, most delicious memories, and we want to know, what is yours to add to our bank?
Oh my God. Okay. So this was the hardest question to answer. And I honestly, like, I think it's a sappy one. I think that it's a personal memory, which is, I usually like am very professional, and like I have a very small circle of people who know like the inner workings of my brain, but like everyone else on TikTok and everything else, they don't really know so much about me personally. But I think my best memory was meeting my boyfriend. And that is a surprising one for me. But I have always been like super independent. And I was like, in my head, in my like late 20s, I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to settle down with somebody. Like I'll go on dates and whatever and, you know, do that. But like, I didn't think that there was ever going to be somebody who like got me. And then oddly enough, I was on vacation in Atlantic City.
I love this story. I know this.
Why? Why was I in Atlantic City? Like so bizarre. My best girlfriend wanted to go on a girls trip. And she's like, let's go on a girls trip. And I was like, Vegas. Like, let's go to Vegas. We'll go like watch naked guys dance, gamble, eat good food, whatever. And then she's like, how about Atlantic City? My cousins live there. And it's like a mini Vegas. And I'd never been to Atlantic City. So I was like, whatever. Okay. You know, you like hear about it, but you don't really think about it. So we go to Atlantic City on a girls trip. There was 5 of us. We were at a cabana by the pool. And John and his friends were at another cabana, and we randomly met in the hot tub, like at this pool in Atlantic City. And yeah, I mean, we've been together ever since. It's been like a year and a half, and he's just like he's the perfect match for me. He lets me like be my boss bitch self, and he supports it. And then sometimes I need somebody to check me a little bit and remind me that I'm just another human being and that I need to take a minute, and he can do that in a way that's really respectful, and I appreciate it. And he's such a good match for me. So it's like a juicy memory, because why am I in Atlantic City, first of all? And second of all, I met like the person I love in a hot tub in Atlantic City. Like what a story.
I mean, what a story for the grandkids. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah. Well, like my girlfriends who were there, one of them was in the hot tub with me and the other one was like in the cabana. And I later found out that the one that was in the hot tub with me, like got out of the hot tub, like ran to the cabana and was like, oh my God, we just met Sarah's future husband. You need to come out here and meet him. And everyone's like, please, bullshit. Like Sarah will maybe hook up with him one night, but like, nah, it's nothing. And he's still around and we love him. Everyone loves him.
That is absolutely hysterical. There are no coincidences in this life. There's no random things. Everything is just aligned. That's really incredible. What a story. Oh my God. I think
that weird butterfly effect, you know, like one thing would have changed and I could have, you know, never met him. So it's a good story because of just like how, like you said, there's nothing that's like, that doesn't happen for a reason.
Yeah, that's so incredible. I love it. And it gives me such, I don't know, it feels good to know that no matter what's happening, whatever's happening, it's somehow the right thing, right? Like even the things that don't feel like the right thing are still the right thing, right? Like I always tell people the 2 best things I ever did in my life was get my eyes lasered and get a divorce. Those were the 2 best things. After that, I met the love of my life. We've got the kids, the house, the white picket fence. Like, man, thank God, right? So
yeah,
yay divorce on so many different
ways. Divorce. It doesn't always have to be awful.
Well, divorce is the best thing I ever did in my life too. So,
man.
Yep.
You've given us so many awesome takeaways today, Sarah. I can't tell you how appreciative I am. I know you're out and about and you're always moving and grooving, and we're going to follow you on TikTok. What's your TikTok again?
It's Florida Divorce Lawyer.
Oh my God. One of them. And she dresses like to the nines. She's so cute.
And I totally love that, like, she divulged 2 things that, like, people don't know about her on our show.
You really got it out of me, honestly. You post this on my TikTok. People are your Voices of the Goddess podcast can blow up. People are gonna start thinking they're gonna get insider scoop.
Get to know the real Sarah Singer. It's
Right?
not fun. It's only interview 1. We have so much more to go. I'm so excited for you and for your future and for everything, all the successes. I love you so much.
Thanks, ladies. It was so great to be on and chat with you guys today.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you to our audience for listening.
Yes, and come join us on Facebook and hang out with us in our group so that you can get to know a little bit more.
All right. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Bye.